Welcome back to the Church Law Podcast. I'm Erika Cole, the creator of the Church Attorney Legal Audit System and your host. This is episode 23. First, I want to say that I'm so thankful to each of you listeners, and I hope you feel the love coming back to you. In our last episode, we answered your questions from season 3, and I've already heard from so many of you that you found it helpful. Also, I'm really pleased to see that we've had an influx of 5-star ratings and reviews. The podcast holds a 5-star rating on Apple, and it is much appreciated. And guess what? Because of you, we're almost at 16,000 downloads. Can you believe that? For those of you watching on the Church Attorney YouTube channel, you can see me clapping my hands. So grateful. So today we're kicking off a new season. It's season 4 already. Can you believe it? And for the first time, we are creating a theme that will center around each new podcast episode. Are you ready for it? The theme this season is healthy leaders, healthy churches. Healthy leaders, healthy churches. So what does it mean to be a healthy church? I've listed, from my vantage point, the top 5 components of a healthy church. So let's get to it. First, of course, is for the church to be healthy in its spiritual nature, right? Because that's the whole point. So it needs to be a Bible-centered community of growing believers that are winning the lost and serving their community. That's how I would define the foundation of a healthy church. So second, for a church to be healthy, there needs to be healthy leadership. And that's going to be a starring component of what we're talking about in this upcoming series. So while, again, a healthy leader can include many things, at a minimum, it would mean, that leader being in community, not being isolated or in an echo chamber where only one's own voice is heard. This would also include, if you're married, if you have children, and you have a healthy marriage and healthy relationships with your children, again, where applicable. And just to be clear, just like our physical health, healthy does not mean perfect or that we can't improve, right? I'm grateful to be married to my husband for over 16 years and to have 2 fantastic sons. Are things perfect? Of course not. But I'm thankful to say it is healthy, and we have healthy relationships and healthy discussions, and where we need support, we're also, a part of us being healthy is seeking and getting that support. As to healthy church leaders, is the second component, I think, of being a healthy leader, in addition to being in community, is not being in burnout, which is a big deal these days. So as we know, the statistics on pastoral burnout are staggering. According to the most recent report from Barna Group, 38% of pastors said they had given real serious consideration to quitting being in full-time ministry within the past year. That's a quote there. We also know that we have a shrinking pool of Christians going into the ministry and an aging pool of ministers exiting the ministry. So burnout often occurs because church leaders feel they don't have the staff support they need, or that a huge part of the work of the ministry falls directly on their shoulders. So I want to offer to you that if you're a church leader feeling burnout, please seek available resources. And I know it can be difficult to ask someone to do something at a time where maybe they don't really feel like they have the energy of their own to do so. But I want to promise you there's some low-hanging fruit for you. I'll offer an episode that I did with my guest, who's the president of Soul Care. We discussed the causes of pastoral burnout, the spiritual and legal implications that arise when burnout leads to other challenges. And that's episode 7, and we'll make a point to put that in the show notes below. I'll also offer that I created a course specifically for church leaders in burnout. It's called Take the Next Call. And I'd encourage you to view the testimonials from the pastors who actually took the course. There are a couple of pastors who shared testimonials, and I thought that they were so impactful. And I would really encourage you to look at those. You can see it at my website, erikacole.com. So ERIKACOLE.com. Okay. The third component of a healthy church is the fiscal health, or the financial health of the church and its leadership. So the very next episode of the podcast, you'll hear from Elaine Somerville. She's a CPA who helps church leaders, and she and I will be discussing the financial health of pastors, including bivocational pastors, because they have some unique challenges. If you're a bivocational pastor, it has unique struggles, and so we're going to talk about the financial health of pastors and planning for retirement, which sometimes can feel very far away. And honestly, maybe the challenge is planning for retirement means that pastors sometimes feel like they have to stay longer in the role than maybe they necessarily feel they have the grace for. But we'll be talking about how these challenges impact the church, and we'll provide you with insights for how you can mitigate these challenges. We'll also provide actionable solutions for church leaders experiencing financial distress. So you don't want to miss that. As it relates to the financial health of the church, we will get into the weeds of how churches in America are coping and some strategies that can be applied based on your church's budget and operations. I'm going to have a fantastic guest with me who's going to talk about, and we'll have great dialogue around financial health of church. Because really, we all know that when finances are a struggle, it impacts so much of our emotional health and how the church can be effective. The fourth component of a healthy church is healthy families and individuals. And frankly, I probably should have put that first because the church is made up of families. It's made up of people. It's made up of individuals. And when we talk about the health of these individuals, of families and individuals, it also, of course, includes mental health, because our brains are part of our bodies. And we know that mental health has been a supercharged struggle in our nation. Pre-COVID for sure, but post-COVID, the numbers are really pretty staggering. And I'll have as a guest a mental health expert who will discuss ways your church can support the health of its people, taking into account the fact that many churches are operating in a hybrid nature. I'll also want to give you some important legal tips when it comes to counseling individuals who have mental health struggles, and just general counseling policies and operations within your church. So you'll really enjoy learning more here. And before I tell you about the fifth component of healthy churches, I'd like to ask you kindly by saying please, because I'm a country girl from the South, so of course I would. I'd like to ask you to take a moment to go to my website, erikacole.com, and sign up for my weekly newsletter. When you get to my website, again, that's ERIKACOLE.com, just complete and submit the short form to sign up. That way we can stay in touch and I can share with you free legal tips for church leaders. Okay, back to our regularly scheduled program. Here is the fifth component of a healthy church: safety, church safety. Yes, church safety has to be a consideration these days, and I will have as a guest a top church safety expert that'll be joining me this season, so you'll want to listen in. In the wake of mass shootings, including at churches, the media has been dissecting the response to crisis. So by hospitals, police, emergency transport, concert venues, etc. And this also includes churches. It's clear that having a plan in place and training on how to execute the plan is vital to an effective response. Recent church shootings make it clear that emergencies do occur in churches. Unfortunately, we can't turn a blind eye to that. And having a viable response plan in place is critical to the safety and well-being of congregants, visitors, and staff, and will serve to minimize potential liabilities of the church for failure to appropriately respond. My guests and I will be helping your church construct a safety plan in these trying times. And let me just give you a bit of unfortunate trivia. But did you know that one of the top reasons that create safety issues for churches is domestic violence? Yeah. So we'll be talking about church safety as a part of the top considerations for healthy churches. So healthy leaders, healthy churches. That's my roundup of the top 5 components of a healthy church and what you can expect this season regarding healthy leaders, healthy churches. What we know is that when leaders are healthier, churches are healthier. And when churches are healthier, there are fewer legal liabilities. So if you want to, just send me a note at my website and tell me what you think is important for a church to be healthy and which of these 5 components are you most interested in learning more about. Thank you for listening. If you found value in the Church Law Podcast, please leave a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts if you're an iPhone user, or Spotify if you prefer Android. A short review would allow other church leaders to find this podcast and benefit from this valuable resource. I'm happy to be your host, Erika Cole, the church attorney and creator of the Church Attorney Legal Audit System. Subscribe to my weekly newsletter at erikacole.com to get free tips for church leaders.